Hey there, everybody. Dr. Impact here from the My Big Fat Pull List crew. Obviously, we live in some pretty crazy and strange times at the moment, and because of that, it's affecting everyone's daily, day-to-day lifestyles. Um, Even things as fun and silly and inconsequential to the larger scheme of things as our regular podcast. Now, I can assure you that Mr. X is working very hard at getting the rest of us in the team up to date with different programs and whatnot. I don't understand all of that stuff. I'm a video guy, not so much an audio guy. But he's getting things worked out so that we can, in some fashion, return to providing future episodes of the show. But in addition to that, we have a show that's based on comic books primarily and pop culture, but primarily comic books, and this week, starting today, April 1st of 2020, there are no new comic books. That's not an April Fool. As many of you probably know by now, Diamond Distribution has halted receiving any shipments from the publishers due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And rightly so, I think. To make sure that everyone is safe, comic books will be there when we get back. So there aren't really a lot of new things, even when we are able to get back to doing regular episodes again. We won't necessarily be able to do current issues episodes, at least for a little while. One thing I've discovered online this week is that there is something that has started called New to You Comic Book Day. And I believe the hashtag that people are using is hashtag NTYCBD. I want to say, I think that's the hashtag. And basically the idea is, we're all quarantined. We're all stuck in here. We're all, laying low and being mindful and respectful to everyone in our communities and going out as little as possible so we don't spread this thing, so that it can get over faster and we can get back to reading our regular monthly comics. Because obviously that's the most important thing, right? So anyway, I thought that was a great idea, and Mr. X has already done a few of these videos here on social media for you guys, where he is talking to you about his journey through the DC Rebirth run. I have been giving him stacks of the Rebirth run, and he's been kind of plowing through that and posting update videos. Well, I kind of thought, well, that's a great idea. Maybe, we'll all kind of take this a step further, and we'll do this on New Comic Book Days, on Wednesdays, New to You Comic Book Days. So if you guys are anything like me, you've probably collected a ton of comics and series that you've maybe never read. Maybe you found a series that you really liked, but you missed a couple issues, along the way, and then you got later issues, but you missed a gap, so you decided not to read any of them, and you thought, well, I'll read them all when I get the whole thing. I do that constantly, all the time. Well, this is kind of giving me an opportunity to kind of go back and finally read some of these things that I've bought and collected and never had a chance to read before. So here on our first installment of what we are calling Dr. Impact's Quarantine Comic Book Prescription. And it's really more of a prescription for me because unless you're going to order it online, I can't really prescribe to you to go read this book. But what I can say is that I will suggest whether or not you should get it as soon as you can go to a comic shop. So we're going to start off with a book that I've been hunting for a long time. And that book is called The End League from Dark Horse. And this book was written by Rick Remender. And the artist for it, let me see if I can find it. It's not very clear right there. I, of course, have notes that I'm going to have because there's no way I can remember any of this stuff. I'm going to have to, have it here. Matt Broom is the artist. Anyway, it was a 9-issue series from about 10, 12 years ago from Dark Horse. And I had only ever found the first 7. I never had the last 2 issues. And so I never wanted to read it because I wanted to wait. I didn't want to read 7 issues and then not know how it ends. I wanted to wait until I could find the last 2 issues. Well, I finally found the last 2 issues sometime, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 months ago, something like that. So I finally got to it. I finally read it. I read them, all 9 issues, over 2 nights. Yeah, sure, you could read it in one day if you want, but I split it up over 2 nights. And what a fascinating book. What a really, really, really fun book it was. So the basic idea behind the End League is that this is a world where there is essentially just 2 heroes. Astonish Man, excuse me, who is essentially a Superman type, and Thor from the Norse pantheon. There are gods in this world. So there is an Olympus and there's, Valhalla and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, there are only really 2 heroes. It's just Astonish Man and Thor. There's this alien race that comes to Earth, and Astonish Man immediately assumes that they're wrong, that they're evil, that they're bad. And so he goes after them, trying to save everyone. And what he does when he's doing so is he ends up destroying their ship, these aliens. He ends up inadvertently killing them, only to discover that they were here to help us with all kinds of different wonderful things that they could give humans. And in that event, which I believe they call, it's something like the Green Event or the Green Day or something like that. And in that event, it turns a tremendous amount of people on Earth into superheroes and supervillains. The supervillains end up eventually banding together on, I think they call this Annihilation Day, where the villains all band together and basically take over the Earth. The villains win. So the villains have essentially won and taken over pretty much everything, killed the majority of superheroes that are left, many humans living in squalor, and the heroes that are left are very, very, very cool. Basically, what Rick Remender has done here is he has taken the basic kind of character types of famous heroes throughout the ages, 2 or 3 from the golden age of heroes. Obviously, Astonish Man is very much Superman from that era. And there's another character in the book called the Soldier American, who is a young man who you eventually discover was actually captured by the Nazis and experimented on by the Nazis in World War II and turned into this super soldier of sorts. And Astonish Man, who is blessed with huge, crazy long life, was there in World War II and saved the Soldier American, and he ends up becoming a hero then, so he's very Captain America type. There is a character, Blur Girl, who runs really fast, and she's obviously the Barry Allen Flash. And then there's the Blue Gauntlet, who is a woman who has this gauntlet that controls these blue hard light images, who's obviously a Green Lantern homage there. There is a character called the Arachnakid. And the Arachnakid, let me get one of the other issues here so you can kind of see who some of these characters are. I'll point out some of them. You can see here on the front, you've got the Soldier American here. Up here in the corner, you will see Astonish Man, right there. An Arachnakid is this guy that's kind of all stretched out here on the bottom. He's the Spider-Man type. He's a 15-year-old kid who literally has like 6 arms and legs, and he's very spider-like. There is the Prairie Ghost, who you see back here. He's essentially Ghost Rider. He's essentially Johnny Blaze. Brother Occult, who is a very Doctor Strange, Doctor Fate kind of character. Divinity, who you do see here, and she is very much Wonder Woman, and even comes from Olympus, so very, very, very much Wonder Woman. Grimwood, and Grimwood's very cool. Grimwood is much like the Prairie Ghost, who, you know, harks to that 70s horror stuff. Grimwood also does, and he's very much a Swamp Thing character. And then there is Codename Black, this guy, who is the Batman. There's a villain who is an awful, awful human being, a bald man who is very tech savvy, Dead Lexington, who is Lex Luthor, and the Smiling Man, which is Joker. I'm trying to think of who else. Oh, there's a character, Wolf's Angel, the character who experimented on Soldier American back in the 40s, and Wolf's Angel is essentially the Red Skull. And they don't hold back. They make them look like these characters. They make them look like the characters from the books. It's very, very fun. It's very cool. Of course, it deals with the end of the world. There's a Galactus type thing, character that is coming, that is going to wipe everything out. Meanwhile, Dead Lexington is trying to wipe out the last of the heroes, and then Wolf's Angel has other villains, and they're all trying to get Thor's hammer. Thor is dead, and Thor's hammer is left, and that is like the ultimate weapon that they're trying to get. And I won't go into any more detail outside of that because I really like this book, and I would really like to suggest it to everyone. If you get a chance, go out, grab it. It's only 9 issues. Each issue is your standard, 22, 25 some odd pages, except for the final issue, issue 9, which is a 40-page extravaganza. And then I tell you, man, the last 2 or 3 issues of this book move like a runaway train. It is very exciting, very fun, a lot of twists, and the ending is just really, really very cool. I really am glad that I finally got them all, and I'm really glad that I finally had the opportunity to sit down and finally read them. Okay, guys, that's it for the first Dr. Impact's Quarantine comic prescription here on the hashtag New to You Comic Book Day. We'll do another one next week. I think next week I will have this book, which I've finally got all 12 issues of and can finally sit down and read. I started reading and I really enjoyed it, but I never finished it. So I don't know how it ends. From Boom Comics, Deathmatch. I have roughly the first 2 years worth of the 2012 Valiant relaunch. Both Exo, Harbinger, Archer and Armstrong, Bloodshot, Eternal Warrior, Ninjak, all of them. I have about the first 2 years worth of everything that was put out of the relaunch. And I've never read them. I've read pieces here and there of the old stuff, but I've never read these. So that will be an ongoing thing. And when I've finished reading a good chunk of it, maybe we'll do a little update on that. So that's it, guys. Stay safe. Read comics. Enjoy. Be smart. We'll see you soon.